Welcome back to The Good, the Bad, and the Kino. This week, Moses and I are talking about one of my personal favorite films, but I promise I won't go on any tangents. Spirited Away, which I've seen, multiple times before. But Moses, it's your first time.
I
So
watched it this morning for the first time, which is blasphemy because Spirited Away and a lot of Studio Ghibli films. Is it Ghibli or Ghibli?
Ghibli.
Ghibli. A lot of Studio Ghibli films. I hear some people pronounce it Ghibli. They're like so famous to the point where it's like a lot of non-film people are like, oh my god, these are like my favorite movies. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
It's that level of like popularity.
Culture.
Yeah, it's super popular.
Yeah.
And the only other Studio Ghibli film that I've seen before this is, as I talked about at the end of the last episode, is Kiki's Magic Delivery Service, whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that one was fine. Didn't really impress me that much. I know a lot of people love it. Didn't strike me that much. So I was interested going into this. And should I give my thoughts?
Yeah, please do. I'm so nervous.
I have mixed feelings. I definitely don't love it. I have very mixed feelings. Overall, I liked it.
My heart just broke inside.
I'm sorry. Overall, I really liked it. I liked it. I wouldn't say I didn't hate the experience.
Okay.
It's a good film. I haven't decided what I'll rate it on Letterboxd, even though ratings are meaningless. And I'm hoping our conversation can maybe sway my rating because I really wanted to like this. I really wanted to like this.
I definitely have a lot of thoughts, and and that's why I think the film is like, personally, like I think it's like number one, maybe number two best animated film ever. And for me, I think it's one of the best films ever, in my opinion, because I really think that the film is about life. And like, we'll talk more a bit about this, but I think that the whole point of the film isn't just about growing up, but it's about every stage of adulthood and like things that you'll encounter in life that are scary and that are foreign, but like you can overcome if you hold on to like a bit of your childhood and like your innocence therein. And I think that's like such a powerful like life message. And another reason is when I saw it for the first time, I thought that it was really good. I didn't love it, but what I think is really special about it is there's a lot of layers to it. I think it's deceptively simple, but I think the more you peel back, the more that there is. And like I really admire that about it.
It's funny you say that about it being about life, because I think a lot of people also say that about Kiki's Magic Delivery Service. And in that movie and in this one, I see where you're coming from. It just doesn't resonate with me that way.
Okay.
So if I have to, I would like to give like a very, if I had to say something very positive about this. Well, first of all, obviously the art direction, the creativity, all of that. Is stunning. So there's nothing bad I can say about it. I was actually surprised to see some 3D animation in this, with the backgrounds.
And it mixes really well.
Yeah, no, it's like what Disney did in the early '90s or late '80s, like what they did with the chandelier and the stairs in Beauty and the Beast. It's that mix of 2D and 3D.
Right.
Where like a fast-moving background might be 3D,
right.
But the foreground's still like 2D animation. And I thought that was interesting.
Right.
Everything about that, it's wildly beautiful. A lot of people described it as like being like a dream, which I can totally see.
It is a very surreal film.
And yeah, it's super creative. I loved all that. I wish more of the film could be like the ending, specifically the scene between the main character and the dragon boy. When they're flying and then he realizes where he's from and they fall down. That whole sequence is the best part of the movie for me.
That scene makes me cry every time.
It's
like
beautiful.
I think there's so much emotional and like a big part. And like,
by the way,
talking about overall craft, like it's beautiful, but also like the score specifically in that scene, but also in general, is like it's amazing.
Yeah. The score is
amazing.
Fantastic.
Score.
The score is fantastic.
It's absolutely
it's great.
Phenomenal.
It is. The score is fantastic. By the way.
Yeah.
Did you watch this with subs or dubs? Because I know people have mixed feelings when it comes to Studio Ghibli films, particularly.
I've seen it both ways, and so I've seen 3 Studio Ghibli films.
Okay.
Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, and My Neighbor Totoro, and how I feel about Princess Mononoke and My Neighbor Totoro is like how you feel about this, where it's like they're really good films, very good films, but I don't love it as much as other people. And I've seen all three films, both in dubs and in subs. And to me, because the dubs are done professionally by Disney,
Yeah.
I actually think that the dubs are actually pretty good. And to me, watching it either way is kind of interchangeable, which is rare for me to say about dubs and films.
No, I know. That's why I said there's mixed opinions on it. Because with regular anime, anyone will tell you subs always.
Oh yeah, fully.
But because it's done so professionally, like I know Kiki's Magic Delivery Service, that one, the voice actress for that is Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah,
and then they get big people to do it, and it's done very professionally. I didn't have a problem with any of that.
Well, I know
the voice is not the mouth not always matching, but that's it.
Yeah, I know in Howl's Moving Castle, which I haven't seen, the dub of that, they got Christian Bale as a voiceover for that. So like it is, cool. it is very professional, the dubbing.
No, and it seems that it wasn't done as hastily as like an anime TV series, you know.
Yeah, because like I've seen a few anime shows, and like it is, you can tell like when it's just not good.
I haven't fully given anime a shot, but from what I can tell, it is not for me. I've tried a little bit. I've dabbled my pinky toe in it sometimes, and it's just like I can't.
I think it depends. Have you tried Death Note?
When I was like 13, but that's not really a fair assessment. But that didn't strike me that much.
I think some of them are too far out there.
Oh yeah, I know that there's like beginner anime, and then there's like the insane
extreme
shit.
hardcore. Yeah.
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 No. Yeah. No. So did you watch it in sub or dub?
I watched it with the English dub.
Okay.
Because
it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I didn't take away anything at all.
Yeah.
And let me actually, I have no problem reading subtitles, obviously, because
yeah, I mean either. But
we're not illiterate.
Like this, I think,
but
no.
But like I got to enjoy the environments more as well, because it's and I'm more focused on the environments than maybe reading.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say, because I think like the art direction is so gorgeous, and there are some like shots that I think are like absolutely like breathtaking, and like it's not a hassle to read subtitles, but like you do really want to laser in on like the world building and the art of the film. But
also when it comes to subs or dubs, I would never watch a live action film with
never.
Subs. That would be a nightmare,
because it's so obvious that the mouth like doesn't match what you're hearing.
And you want the actor's voice to really match the
right.
Yeah,
because that's acting in and of itself. Is the inflection of an actor's voice.
So going to Spirited Away, I actually found, because you mentioned this last week at the end of the episode, that like you haven't seen Kiki's Magical Delivery Service, but you thought that was more like My Neighbor Totoro, and it's more childish, which it is. It's quite childish, I'd say, but it's actually not that much more childish than Spirited Away, except that Spirited Away has some characters and sequences that are absolutely horrific.
There are.
No, I know a lot of friends who saw this movie when they were younger and like had nightmares because of the witch.
I saw it for the first time when I was 17, and like the witch lady, how much Haku, the dragon boy,
he
like is bleeding.
So,
and I was like, wow, and like when you see Princess Mononoke, that film's actually rated PG-13 in America, because like you see decapitations and like limbs come off, and like it's like proper, like, you know.
Yeah, but to talk about the actual film instead of talking about generalities, the main character, what's her name?
Chihiro.
I found her very charming. I like the character. That I had no problem following her story. She didn't bug me at all, like some children characters could perhaps. And I was like, with the introduction, I was like, I'm on board, because it's like, oh, she's scared to move, and the whole movie's going to be about her learning not to be scared. And I was really on board with that. And then it got to the actual, and I was like, because I knew that there was the witch lady, and there's the dragon boy, there's a dragon. But I actually didn't know that much. And when they were eating the food, I was like, they're gonna get in trouble and turn into some sort of animal, and bam.
Yeah.
Which is probably a reference to Circe. Actually, definitely a reference to Circe and the Trials of Ulysses, the
Yeah.
Odyssey. That shit,
I think so.
Oh no, but people, getting turned into pigs. It's obviously there's a relation.
Yeah, it's
there.
a very, very fantasy fairy tale like.
Yeah, but its origins come from the myth of Circe in Greek mythology, whatever. So I was totally on board with that, and then I don't know what to say about the middle half of the film, the majority of it.
Okay.
A lot of it kind of felt disjointed.
Okay.
And a lot of it, in my opinion, felt disjointed. If I had to,
okay,
I don't have any specific problems with it, with anything that happens. Nothing just grabbed me.
Sure. So for me, I think like I seeing it the first time, you do think that you're like, now it's just kind of turned into like a day in the life of like her in this kind of fairy tale world in this bathhouse and like what she's going through. But like when you rewatch it and you do more research into it, I think that the film, and this is what I meant by like there's a lot of subtext to it, and that like every like kind of trial she goes through emulates like either a transition from like childhood to adulthood or like something that you have to go through when like you're an adult. So like an example, a good example of that is with the character of No Face towards the end.
Yeah.
Because he creates gold and instills a sense of greed in everybody in the bathhouse.
I almost wanted No Face to be cooler because that's a very iconic image.
Yeah.
Before he gets all enlarged,
all fat and big.
Yeah. That's a very iconic image, and I thought that he was going to be maybe cooler, like he was going to have a cool voice and be ominous, and then he just kind of turned into this large beast.
He's a really interesting character.
I was almost underwhelmed because I was like, oh wow, this is gonna be cool because it's like some weird demon shit, like it looks so ominous, and it's like nom.
He wasn't really, but the whole point of that whole sequence of like is
and he's called No Face.
Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
and it was
that is a great name for it. But like as he's making the gold and like instilling a sense of greed in everybody in the bathhouse. I think like the Miyazaki's intent there is to say like as we get like as adults, as we get older and like we see the more of the world around us, we like lose a bit of us like our sense of childhood, and we're so eager to like progress and like within large society that our greed kind of motivates us. But you see Chihiro doesn't really do that. Like she has a lot more patience with it, a lot more understanding, and like she can only really get to that because
she doesn't really care, but she's on her quest to save her
but she also cares for No Face. She wants to like rid him of these demons.
No, I did think it was cool that
she becomes like more selfless throughout the film, and to me that's her arc is from selfishness to selflessness.
I did find it very cool that like I agree that is the main thing, and I'll get to that in a second. I do agree that I found it very cool that Chihiro didn't like she wants to go to the twin of the witch lady. She wants to see her the twin sister to save what's his face, and before she does that, even though it's quite urgent to her, she's like, I'll take care of this, and took on this level of responsibility. And I thought that was interesting. And you just mentioned that like it is more about her being more selfless, which is true. But I found it odd because the movie does set it up that it's like it's going to be about her being scared, and the movie ends with it like implying it was all about her learning not to be scared. Which I found confusing. But I think the movie is more about her becoming selfless.
I think it's both, because by the end of the film, you're right, she isn't scared, but it's also she's not scared because she came on this journey and she shared herself and helped others, and it's from others that she found the power within herself to not be afraid. And you can tell that, and I love that little touch. I don't know if you noticed it, but at the very end when she's like, there's a shot of her like looking off in the distance at like the abandoned amusement park, and her parents like, are you coming? Like, there's no need to be afraid anymore. And then like you see a glint of like the hair tie that like her friends made for her. Like
I noticed.
it glints. it glints and she goes, no, I'm not afraid. And I love that because that's, to me, that's the moment where it
that
does
happens
imbue,
twice at the end. With the
I didn't notice the second time.
I don't know. I noticed it twice that like they said something and she turned her head and it glinted.
And it glints. Yeah. And I thought that, and I think that's a great touch because to me, it's she becomes less afraid by becoming more selfless. And at the beginning of the film, I'd also say like she's also making the move like very much about herself. Like even the opening shots are like from the backseat of the car, it's from her perspective. It's all about her problems. You know, it's mom, dad, let's not go in there. Let's go back. It's all about me. And then like as it kind of goes on, it you know, she, like I said, she overcomes that fear by being more selfless. So I think
I enjoyed
the film actually
I enjoyed that
ties that
opening
together quite nicely.
I enjoyed that part of the opening with her flowers and all that. I was all on board for that. I have it in my notes. If we want to quickly move on, I thought the Sting Spirit sequence was orchestrated fantastic. Like,
that is like one of the best sequences in the film because the use of color in that sequence is like I think amazing, and like it also shows her not just her drive to be good but her drive to like to help others. And I think I don't know, I just think like on the surface it's like it's a fun sequence, but deep down it's like quite profound. And like the moment where like you know, she frees the spirit and she like becomes encased in water and like it all goes so silent except for like a little bit of running water, and like it's just it's so peaceful and serene and calm, and you just get the sense that she's found that inner peace as well.
Whenever the movie focused with anything related to water, I loved it because it just looked so beautiful. The flashbacks to her being in the river as well, that part of it, gorgeous. So I enjoyed all whenever there was anything related to water. I thought the witch character was going to be way more evil than she was, which was.
But I like that, and again,
I like that. I'm not.
Just
my expectations from like what I'd heard of the film was apparently the witch is terrifying, which she is.
And well, in the opening she is, right? Because like there's that great shot of like, you know, the Chihiro, but like no, it's like a medium close up Chihiro, and then like the witch's eye is like so big on like the left side of the frame, like clutching her hand around her throat. Like that's a like very like menacing kind of thing.
She is very menacing even throughout, even when you know she's not like a villain. You know she's not terrifying. I was reminded of Coco to an extent. Which you know.
Funny you should say that, because you know
I know you love.
I mean, we were talking about in our doc script. In high school, we had to do an assignment basically for our film class, and one of our final assignments, I wrote on coming of age in animated films, and I made comparisons between Spirited Away and Coco. Coco is one of the films I analyzed as well.
There are very overt like parallels you can make. With being in a spirit world. Her disappearing at the start before she eats the thing, all that. Very Coco.
Very.
There's a level of inspiration.
And kind of going back to the stink spirit sequence. Because what I think also is so great about that is like there's so much doubt around her from other characters, and you can tell that doubt is like in her, and that whole sequence is like a microcosm of the film. It's like, you know, she's doing what she can, but she's really doubtful of her ability, so she's not always succeeding. But like, and then she like, you know, becomes more brave, and like despite adversity, she powers through, and at the end she saves someone else, and in turn like she's like saves herself, quote unquote. And like I think that is like, I love the beauty of that sequence. So I'm happy you brought that up, because like I think that's such a good scene.
I loved all that. I like the weird spindly guy handling the furnace. I really liked the assistant character who takes Chihiro.
Who takes care of her.
I really liked her character.
Now I want to talk
how motherly she was, and how she wasn't like, overtly mean. You know.
No.
It didn't do anything annoying in that regard. Where it's like.
No. I there was there was one aspect of the film that I find more and more interesting as I rewatch it, which is like this idea of like a loss of identity.
Okay.
Because when Chihiro like gets a job and like, you know, this and that, she signs her name away, and she's given a new name, essentially like a new identity for like the rest of the film. She stops being Chihiro, she becomes Sen. And I think that is such an interesting idea.
Yeah,
Because
as you say that, I didn't really think. I think I didn't give this movie enough credit.
but that's the thing, is like the more you think about it and watch it, there's so many layers. And again, to me, that's an element of like coming of age. It's like as you get older and like you get a job and you become an adult, you're becoming a part of like a workforce, something other than yourself. You're losing a bit of your own sense of self.
If I had
like her, you know, yeah,
I'd probably rate this like a 3 out of 5 right now, a 3.5 out of 5. I mean, 3.5 out of 5 at the moment.
Yeah.
But on rewatch, I can see myself maybe giving this a 4. If I go in thinking and giving it more credit than I did originally,
yeah,
I might.
because and I don't blame you for having that initial reaction, because I was a bit similar as well. But it really does grow, because it's like those small moments you don't really think about, but then you think about the subtext of what that means, and like, okay, all right, the film is about coming of age and the journey of like selfishness to selflessness, and like retaining your like the essence of being a child throughout adulthood. All right, that's what the film's about.
Maybe if
every scene is like a microcosm of that, and like you come to see that, and it's just like it really is beautiful. Like the more you come to understand it, I think.
Yeah, because usually I would have picked up on something like that, because it is quite obvious now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But I was very taken and overwhelmed with the creativity of this world that I had to keep up. And
that's the thing, is like we can analyze it and all that, but like one of the things I absolutely love about it and why I love rewatching it is just I love the world.
Yeah.
Like the world building, I think, is like is amazing, and it's not just in the bathhouse or in that area. And like we'll talk about it, because obviously the film's most famous sequence is the train sequence. Do you not?
The train sequence? What are you talking
about? Really? Oh, when Chihiro and No Face are sitting on the train, and like it's just the music and just passing by, like town by town, station by station.
I don't even remember that.
Oh, you're breaking my heart.
I watched it this morning, and I don't even remember that.
Remember when she has to go?
I remember that she goes on a train.
Zaniba. Yeah, and it's like a 5-minute sequence. It's like people getting on and off, and like you see the train go by in like this kind of ocean, but like you see big towns, or like in you see like maybe a big city, or in one case you see like a small house and just a tree on like a little island, and it's just like, what is this world? Like, is the train like passing? Or like the passengers like actual people? Is it a real train? And like, but like you're on Chihiro and No Face on the other side, so it's like crossing the spiritual plane, and like those places are real places. Like it is surreal as you're trying to put it together, but it doesn't. They don't. What I love about it is they don't need to overly explain it. It makes sense, and anything else you want to add to it is for the viewer's benefit.
Their headcanon, yeah.
Yeah, and I think
really don't
remember
that
really
sequence.
Smart.
And I do.
That's so disappointing.
There's no way it's actually 5 minutes, because I would remember it if it was at least 5 minutes.
Well, I think
a long
altogether,
time.
I think altogether it's like that, but like because it's that, and then it cuts away, and then it comes back to it.
Maybe.
But like I don't know. I think I'm surprised you remember it. That's like I love that moment in the film, because it's just so peaceful and serene, and that's why I love the film overall. Is just like it is so like there are moments of excitement and whatnot, but it has so many great moments to breathe, to let the world and the characters and the audience breathe with it, more so than like most films I think do. So I really admire that about it.
I have a question regarding the ending. I know we're jumping around a lot, but I just remembered this. So the parents arrive back to the car, and it's covered with leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
and like dust and stuff.
Dust. So does that mean it's been like it's been like a real amount of days since they've been gone?
Yeah, I think it's been like, from what I remember, it's like 3 or 4 days because they're not there.
Because they don't remember that it hasn't been that long.
Right.
Because I feel like you can still have it be a real thing that happened to Chihiro, but be it more of a time stuck time-free situation.
That's true. I always saw it as like, so the
It's,
real days in the spirit world are like real days in our world. It's just the
yeah,
fact that the spirit world's here and our world's here, but time functions in the same manner.
yeah. It does. That's what they insinuate by the end. But I was just thinking,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not, they don't really explore that. The fact they don't explore the fact that it's been real days in human time, because the
Yeah.
parents don't think of it, and they'll have to address that when they get home, when they get to their new home, and the movers were they missed the movers by 4 days or whatever. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so that just raised more questions than it answered for me. And you get the
Well,
answer. You get the answer that it was real. It wasn't a dream because she has the hair
yeah.
tie. So
Well, right.
I felt like it was a touch almost unnecessary.
I don't know. I didn't have an issue about that because it wasn't like it's not
It's not a
about
real
whether.
issue, but it did raise more questions than it probably should.
Yeah, but at the end, it's like, okay, well, they'll go back and the movers will be like, well, you weren't here for a few days, and the parents might be confused. But then Chihiro's like, okay, well, I know where I was, no big deal. Like, I don't know, I didn't consider that. Yeah, it does raise more questions, but I don't know. I didn't really. I was just like, okay, well, they'll sort it out. you know, it's not too fully about that. So
Yeah, just trying to pull something up.
mm-hmm.
Keep talking. Uh,
Well, so I don't. There's a quote that I think that that from Miyazaki that I think is like a perfect summation of what the film's really about. Like I know I've mentioned it already, but just like in his own words, he says that Spirited Away is for the people who used to be 10 years old and the people who are going to be 10 years old. So it's this idea that it's like it is completely and totally universal, because like, and I love that because a lot of coming of age films are like about a specific moment when you grow up, but I
yeah.
think this film is so much about every aspect about growing up, every aspect of childhood, every aspect of adulthood, and what life's about. Because yeah, it's about coming of age, but it's all the film's also about greed. It's about mistrust. It's about you know it's about friendship. It's about love. It's about all these things that you experience throughout your life, good and bad. And I love that about it. The only thing I personally like, again, because no film is perfect, even though I'd give this 5 out of 5 stars, and I love it. I love this film so much. The only issue I do have with it is that I do love the moments where it allows you to breathe, but I feel like in the first hour the pacing is a bit off, because there are sometimes transitions between scenes that aren't breathers, but rather just like there are filler moments, I feel like. And like, yes, the art direction's beautiful and it's beautiful to look at, but like there's not actually much progressing it forward. And like I feel like the film could be like a few, like 5-10 minutes shorter, and like the pacing could be
It
a
is.
bit tighter in the first
It
half.
is pretty long for a kids.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Kids
full
movie.
2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
It is a full 2 hours. Well, I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for, but in response to what my comment about the ending, and a lot of things that you could say about the movie and its internal logic, there's a quote from Jean Cocteau's 40s version of Beauty and the Beast that the movie opens with, basically saying you're being imparted to like a fairy tale world. This is a story, like a fairy tale story. Don't question it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people often forget that like this is like an animated fantasy thing. You don't need to question
Yeah.
every aspect of the internal logic.
Well, and that's
Not that you
and
can't be critical of the story,
no,
but of the like
of the internal logic. And
yeah.
and the thing for me is in not just this film, but films in general. If the film is taking the time to explain heavily how the world works, and then it breaks that internal logic or does something that you're like, that's a bit off, then that's a criticism.
Oh, and
But
if it's taking its own rules very seriously, then yes.
Right.
But if it's
But
not taking itself too seriously, and
exactly,
it doesn't even really bother to explain like the scientific aspect of it, then
yeah,
who cares?
yeah. And this is one of those examples to where like there are some rules, there are some very basic things, but like other than that, it's pretty much like we can do anything. It's a fairy tale.
Yeah,
You know?
that's kind of beautiful about not explaining it, is that you can
Yeah.
do anything.
And again, I'm so happy that they didn't, because like the world's amazing, and I felt like if they had taken the time to explain every little aspect of it, it would kind of take away from like the mysticism and the majesty of it.
Oh yeah.
And like I don't know, I love being in that world, especially, and like I know we already mentioned this, but the music is just so good on like
Very
every
good.
level, and it really enhances the immersion of being like feeling like, oh, like in this world, and kind of that sense of like being overwhelmed, but in the best possible way. Yeah, it's just so beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
All that whole aspect of the film, the creativity behind the world that they built, visually, all the different characters, because you've got frog creatures, you've got this no-face monster.
Yeah. You've got river spirits of totally different kinds.
Yeah.
You've got a radish spirit, which is just, you know, a little bit of in and of itself.
For example, the sting spirit, like when she wipes away all the mud and the filth that was in it, and you get the face of the river spirit, I think it is.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
It comes up
you
out of the water.
You never see anything like that again.
Yeah, it's amazing. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful shit. And like and I love one of my favorite artistically sequences in the film is when Chihiro's running through like the spirit world as like it's coming alive, especially with the music, because like the neon lights, but also like the oil lamps, all of it like coming on, and like the different spirits and all the things in the world are happening around them. It's just like it's mesmerizing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's so beautiful.
And when you start to see spirits everywhere, and when the pigs, when the parents turn into pigs and they've still got like their hair.
Yeah, yeah. It is a nightmare in spots, and like that's why I like the no face aspect of it as well. And I think he is such an, to me, like when I watch the film, every time I have a different interpretation of what that character is supposed to mean. Because like on one hand, you could see him as like, beware, like these are all the things of adulthood that you should be afraid of and you need to confront. But on the other hand, it's like, this is like, you know, when you get older, you know, friends can sometimes, you know, not be the people you think they are, and then come back to you, or, you know, there's just so many interpretations. And I get what you mean by like being underwhelmed by that character, in sense of like,
that's not even a real criticism, because I was set up
I know
by my
what you
own
mean.
Expectations.
Right. And it's like you see that image, you think it's going to be different.
Yeah.
But it's totally, it's just so surreal and strange. And him as a character is like, the only thing you really know for certain is just like, he tries to reach out and like help Chihiro. Mm-hmm. And like when she doesn't, at one time when she doesn't accept his help, is kind of like when he starts to go down that path. And like, again, that's even a third interpretation of that character, is like, you know, when you get like, as you grow up, you can be lonely. You need people to like fill your life. Otherwise you do get consumed with the dangers of adulthood. Like, you know, greed is obvious, because, you know, he makes money is the obvious like example there. But like, I don't know, I find that character to be so fascinating, because I can't pin him down. Yeah. But I don't even cite that as a criticism, because every way that you read it just benefits the film.
Yeah. I still haven't found the perfect way to articulate why I feel that not that strongly about the film. Even though that, I'm not saying I didn't pick up on anything of the subtext of what they were trying to say, because a lot of it is quite overt and quite similar to Kiki's Magic Delivery Service, actually. That movie, you enjoyed a lot, actually, I think. It's also about adulting, because it's literally in this culture, when you're like 13 and a witch, you leave and find a town to be the witch of.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's
interesting.
13-year-old, which also completely unexplained lore that makes that batshit sense, but who cares?
Yeah.
And so she finds this town and has to learn how to be on her own without her parents and be a witch.
Yeah.
and it's all again a lot of trials,
Yeah,
similar to
yeah,
this.
yeah. I think I
And
would really enjoy that then.
and it's about adulting, and it does have a very
Yeah.
nice message about like, hey, don't tire yourself out. That's an element of
Yeah,
it.
I should
So
watch that then because I don't know.
I picked up on all those things, but again, for some reason I haven't. I'm sure there is a reason. I just can't articulate it into words, and I haven't pinpointed what it is. But for some reason, even though I see all of this stuff and it's very beautiful, none of it really hits me over the head with the damn. That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think definitely you rewatch it and it's just knowing more what the film's going for and seeing the full picture. I think rewatching it and like seeing the subtext is there. It's funny you say that you make that comparison between that Ghibli film and this one because Princess Mononoke and My Neighbor Totoro are not at all like that. Princess Mononoke is like is an environmental allegory. It's all about saving the environment.
I'm actually very interested in Princess Mononoke because that does sound very interesting.
And My Neighbor Totoro, which I think is like a really good film, isn't really about really anything. It's just kind of about like being innocent and having fun as a kid, and that's like kind of it. And like it's like an hour and 20-minute film.
Yeah.
So like it is really good, but it doesn't really have that weight. And like Princess Mononoke is about a larger theme that is really important, and like that is why that film is really good.
There's also a war movie from Studio Ghibli that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Or it's like you see them die in the opening.
I think you should watch that next, to be honest. That should be because maybe that is the Ghibli film for you that you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Like
I think you see that the characters die in the opening and then you flash back or it's their ghosts. I don't know, but it's a war film.
And Princess Mononoke.
No, I'm talking about no. This is a different one. There's another one about war. It's not Princess Mononoke.
It's he did one called The Wind Rises. It was about a
I don't think
painter or
it's The Wind
something.
Rises. No, it's not The Wind Rises.
In World War II.
No. It's about. Wait, I'll keep talking. I'll look this up.
Sure. But yeah, I think you should definitely give Princess Mononoke a shot for like your next Ghibli film.
Yeah.
Because it is a really good film. It's just
Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh yeah, that's a Ghibli film. That's not.
It's not directed by Miyazaki.
Right, it's not Miyazaki film, but it does come from.
Speaking of the man
Ghibli
himself, I heard the craziest story about him this week. So his son, made a film. This is off topic, by the way, but who cares?
Yeah.
His son made a film, and Miyazaki walked out of the premiere and was like, he can't make a film yet. He's not a man. He's just a boy. How old do you think his son was when he made that comment?
Like in his 30s.
He was in his 30s.
Oh, no.
And his father walked out of his first movie premiere and was like, he's not a man. He's a boy.
I mean, it's Miyazaki, so he can say that, but at the same time,
that is rough.
That is brutal parenting.
That is harsh as hell.
That is so harsh. Oh my god. That's devastating for him.
Yeah. Wait, maybe I can find the exact quote. But that's devastating. God. He's not a man yet. He's a boy.
You can't make films like your old dad can.
Yeah.
I wonder what film it was.
Okay. No. You keep talking again while I'm looking this up.
Kind of leaning back to Spirited Away.
Shit! Wait, I found
another.
He said about this. The movie was Tales of Earthsea. Miyazaki bolted from the theater to have a cigarette, saying, "It feels like I was sitting there for about 3 hours." Miyazaki returned and watched the rest of the film. When it finished, he was asked for what he thought, and he replied, "I saw my own child. He hasn't become an adult, that's all." Then he paused and said, "It's good that he made one movie. With that, he should stop making movies."
Well, he okay, so then he made so he made that film in 2010.
And then he made From Up on Poppy Hill.
which is so much more. Yeah, okay. So Tales from Earthsea is 43% on Rotten Tomatoes,
Okay.
but from Up on Poppy Hill is 86%. So maybe he got his dad's approval on that one.
Maybe, but that is harsh as hell.
That is harsh. But maybe that was the advice he needed, because then from Up on Poppy Hill,
wait.
Hayao Miyazaki wrote that film. He wrote it,
Oh,
and then his son directed it.
Okay, well that's
So,
different.
Yeah.
But so you're saying that Miyazaki successfully whiplashed his son?
Pretty much. It seems like it.
He threw a metaphorical symbol at his head.
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, kind of thing.
Well, you could argue it's broke, but Whiplash, good movie.
Well, true. Yeah, God, Whiplash is so good. But yeah, I kind of returning to one of the other principal characters, which is Spirited Away, Haku, which is the Dragon Boy.
Yeah,
What I thought was really interesting about him is like his arc is like a smaller element of Chihiro's as well, which is his whole thing is regaining his identity and kind of rediscovering who he is. And again, he's been corrupted by like the adult world around him, lost his memory of like his childhood, where he's really from, who he really is. But it's through Chihiro kind of reestablishing her own identity that he then reestablishes his own. And again, I just like the film is a microcosm of like a greater idea about life and growing up. But then within that, there are microcosms of her own journey within it. And it's just like, I don't know, that's what I mean. Just like that character isn't like super central, but his arc is still layered enough, and then ties very nicely back in with Chihiro's own arc as well.
If I had to be critical again,
Sure.
I would argue that the movie does ask you character-wise to buy a lot. I'm not talking about having to buy into the world, as I mentioned, it's like a fantasy thing. You shouldn't have to question it that much. But I still feel like you can question internal logic of the characters because they don't really. For example, Dragon Boy, when he helps Chihiro for the first time, like when she initially gets trapped in the world, and he comes to help her, they really give you absolutely no reasoning for why he's like sticking his neck out for her, other than like basic sympathy. But it's so dangerous that you still don't. But you could get in trouble for it. That you don't fully get why.
Well, I
guess you have to be on board with this.
My understanding of it is like he's always had an inclination of who she is, like deep down in his mind.
Yeah, but they don't give you any of that information until the very end.
No, they don't. So yeah, you're right. Like, I don't know. Maybe on rewatch you won't feel that way. I don't know. On the first go around, you can definitely see that. That is true the first time you watch it. But I don't know. Yeah, definitely rewatching it, you're always like, you can tell he's always had some kind of idea about like who she is and like kind of what's going on with her.
Mm-hmm.
But I also got the sense that like he wasn't like a bad, like he wasn't a bad person. He was just kind of corrupted by the things that the Yubaba made him do.
Mm-hmm.
So like he was still a sympathetic person, to like help her out and whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, it does ask you to kind of buy into that logic fully. I agree with that.
Going back to what we were talking about earlier, Goro Miyazaki he was 39 when his dad said, "I saw my own child. He hasn't become an adult. That's all." He was 39.
That's oh my God, 40 years old, basically.
Yeah, that is. Woo.
That's terrible. That's so
ruthless
terrible.
Parenting from Mr. Miyazaki.
Hey, it worked. His next film was critically acclaimed.
But if I am going to be more positive again about the film, overall about Studio Ghibli films, I think similar to I'm very critical of Wes Anderson, even though I like some of his movies. I do same reason here. I do think it's wonderful that these movies have reached a status of where it's like, yeah, these are mainstream films, but they're still they're more meaningful than other mainstream things. If you know what, it's more artful, and even from a creative standpoint,
Yeah.
The art direction. It's way more artful and out there and imaginative than a lot of other stuff that is more mainstream. I'm not trying to decry mainstream media.
No,
Mainstream movies is bad. That's not at all what I'm trying to go for. But
no, fully. No,
it is nice that they can reach a wider market of more like, where they're more like, sorry, I can't find my own phrasing. It's nice that it's reading that these more maybe artful films. I don't know how I would describe this as art house at all. No, I wouldn't. But these more artful films, and that they're reaching, that they've managed to reach a wider market and become very popular.
Yeah, and I love that they
Foreign
have,
films as well.
because
They're foreign films. So
and
that element of
that's the
it as
amazing
well.
thing, is like it was quite a small, like, you know, local animation house making like small shorts and like a couple small films early on in like its career, but then somehow it just gained worldwide notoriety, and it's just like,
Yeah, I would like to know how it became as
well,
popular in the West as it is.
I think a big aspect of that, and I know John Lasseter is like,
Yeah, it's Pixar, right? And
but like
Disney.
John Lasseter like really helped shepherd them in, and like put those, you know, dubbed those films, put them in theaters, and sold them on DVD in the US in like the early to mid 2000s. So I think like a lot of like of its popularity started to really come at the forefront there, and I think Spirited Away, because it came out in like 2001, was like the real start of that, and then people started to kind of rediscover their earlier films.
Well, it won Best Animated Film at the Oscars.
Yeah.
So
and it won. I think it won at the Berlin International Film Festival as well, if I remember correctly.
Which, to be honest, I'm quite surprised it won Best Animated Film. I don't know what was nominated that year, but like it is.
Maybe it surprises you.
Maybe I'm stupid and I don't get the movie. I get the movie. It just doesn't hit. It doesn't hit me the same way as other people. I get exactly what it's going for, but
I think when you rewatch it in like a year or two, like I think you'll have a much deeper appreciation for it. Like because it was a film, when I saw it for the first time, I'm like, that was really, really good, but I definitely feel like I'm missing something. So I rewatched it quite recently after that, because it's a very entertaining film, right? It's not boring at all.
No, I wouldn't say it's boring.
So like
it's just a bit long, but I wouldn't say boring.
Yeah, it's really easy for a rewatch. And then I saw it the second time, it just clicked. It was like it was a similar experience to me like when I saw Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is a completely different film.
Yeah.
But like when I saw that, it was a very similar experience. I saw that for the first time, like that was really good, but it, you know, didn't quite hit. And I saw it the second time, and it was like every aspect of when I saw it the first time, moments or bits and pieces where I was like, it doesn't completely work for me, knowing what the film was really going for. I saw the full picture, and it like, you see what the film really is, and I think it's just, yeah, I think it's a really beautiful film, like on every level. And like I completely get it. Like I get your first time experience, because like the film is really like a lot of moments kind of strung together by like this one character. But like now that you see what the film's fruition is, and like hopefully from this conversation you've kind of come to see the wider scope of the film as well. When you rewatch it, you see how each and every moment, even though it may seem disjointed, actually adds up a lot to the characters and to what the film's like really about.
Yeah.
And again, I admire that, because even in Pixar films, I think are really like there's a lot of layers to Pixar films, but their themes, what they're really about, are overt, and like that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, Pixar's, maybe it's tripping me that like, what Spirited Away is doing is quite overt, but it's not as overt as something like what Pixar does. So maybe I'm just getting tripped up that an animated movie has even a little bit of subtlety, little bit of subtlety.
And that's the thing. It is very subtle.
I don't know if I would say it's very subtle, but it's more subtle than you'd expect from an animated film.
I think it's mostly subtle. Obviously, some things are not, like the parents turning into pigs. That is not subtle.
No.
Or like, No Face getting fat and like the money growing. It's like the greed. That is overt.
Yeah.
But like, in terms of like what each and every moment means, and like the purpose behind it, and the ideas of identity, and like even something as small as costume design, you realize like the moment she loses her identity and becomes Sen, she's wearing that bathhouse uniform, but then when she leaves the bathhouse and people start referring to her as Chihiro again, she puts her old clothes back on. So it's like, it's those little touches of like that really make the subtlety
I
work.
wouldn't say
And
the
obviously
costume thing is very subtle, but other aspects of it, sure.
I didn't notice that until, later on, because again, like, it's a kids film, or like an animated film, and like I've always been a very strong supporter of, like, just because they're animated films doesn't mean they're lesser films.
Well, I think if anyone really tries
to
argue that, then they're ignorant to an extent.
Well, I think a lot of people have a bias of, like, oh, it's animated.
Yeah, but if
it's not a film.
But if you spend 2 minutes to think about it, then you'd realize, like,
oh, absolutely. But I think that's just like a
yeah.
I think it's a bit of a bias. Everyone.
Yeah, but I understand that it's a bias. But if anyone actually tries to argue that, like, sit down and, like, actually argue it, then it's weird. Like,
fully.
I understand why people have the bias. I'm sure I had the bias for a while, because why wouldn't you consider it a lower form, like, less serious, almost.
But it's not, and I think like,
no, it's not.
This, to me, like, the subtlety in it and the layers stand toe to toe with any big film. And even more recently, was it last year or 2 years ago? I can't remember, but I seriously think that Spider-Verse should have been nominated for Best Picture that year. Like
2018.
Yeah, 2018. So
that's
that year,
another movie I really like it, but I'm also not in love with it as much as everyone else.
Oh, nah, I love that movie so much.
It's a really good movie.
Because again, like, the details, and that to me is something about animated film that I think that is so special. Is like,
but I do think it's slightly overrated.
It's like, fair enough. But I think even, the larger point is just like, I think that the way that the best animation films use the actual animations for themes and character.
Yeah.
And like, even in Spider-Man, it's famous now about how, like, Miles is like 30 frames per second, and then 60, and then, like, 80 or something. So the his speed movement grows as a character grows. And even in this, like, a lot of the first hour when Chihiro is coming face to face with things that scare her, there's this, like, little body animation, and I love it. It's great when, like, her body shivers and, like, you can see her hair stand up and, like, all this.
No, I like it when her body does, like, a wave and her hair just, like,
yeah. But then as the film goes on, like, she does that less and less and less, and it's just like, it's those little touches that, like, you only really pick up on the more and more you watch, and, like, you see that there is subtlety not just in the story and the writing, but in the actual technique. And, like, I think, and in this film especially, I think that's what's really beautiful about it.
I'm annoyed at myself that I don't like it more, because, like, on paper everything lines up. I get what they're going for with the message.
Yeah.
Like, with the adulting thing, becoming more selfless.
Yeah. It's about life.
Yeah. I recognize all that, and I recognized all that in Tickets Delivery Service, but it bugs me that I can't put my finger on what doesn't work.
I really think that when you rewatch it, you'll either be able to articulate that more, or be like, I see the full picture now. And maybe as you think about it, on a future episode, you can bring it back, be like,
if I ever do,
I couldn't articulate it, but now I can.
With a good articulated reason for why I don't absolutely love it. But
I think it makes sense, because as you're watching it, like, until you get to the end, you're just like, these are cool moments, but I don't really see how it's coming to fruition. And then even when you see the end, you're like, oh, I see what it's going for. But even when you think back on it, it's not as clear as if you were watching it. So, like, I do get that.
Yeah, I see.
I do get it.
I don't have that much more to say on the film, on the Kino. Do you have anything to add?
No, not really. I mean, no, we've definitely talked about all of, like, key scenes. I just,
this is just a strange film where I don't have any strong opinions on it. I don't heavily dislike it, and I don't heavily like it. I think it's solid.
And you know what? That's fair. That's, that was me for Mistress America, right? It was,
I think you disliked Mistress America more than I disliked this.
Sure, but when I finished Mistress America, I felt similar to you, where it's like, it was solid.
Yeah.
It's like it was. It's true. You probably do like this more than I like that.
But also, this is way more beloved than Mistress America.
Oh yeah.
This is one of like the beloved films. Like
especially animated.
This is one of the most beloved animated films out there. It bugs me that I don't have a strong opinion on it.
But that's okay. I mean, there's so many beloved animated films that I don't particularly have a strong preference towards. Like Beauty and the Beast, it's really good, but like it's not like, oh my god, it's amazing, this and that for me.
I don't have strong opinions on Beauty and the Beast either. I have stronger opinions to Peter Pan.
And that you like it or don't.
Aside from the absolutely insane racist shit. In that, I do, but that has nothing to do with the actual content of the film. It's one of the film. It's Peter Pan is one of the properties that got me into film when I was like 5. And Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins is my favorite Disney film. I have to say.
I haven't seen Mary Poppins in so long.
We should watch Mary Poppins together. Mary Poppins is the other film that really got me into film before Star Wars.
And then,
but specifically,
I think Star Wars and Spider-Man growing up, the old Tobey Maguires. I remember seeing the second one in the cinema for the first time.
Damn. This is off topic, but I'll just say the story. I have strong memories of when the third Spider-Man came out. It was like, 2008? So I was 7. Wait, you saw Spider-Man 2 in theaters?
Yeah, I remember my dad
4?
taking me. Yeah.
Damn, that movie has a terrifying sequence with the surgeons.
Yeah, there's some fucked up shit in that film.
There's some Raimi horror shit in that. Jesus.
Oh, fully, yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember when I was 8 or 7 and Spider-Man 3 was coming out. I wasn't allowed to go see it in theaters. But I maybe can even find it. I was really mad because I really wanted to see Spider-Man. I was a big fan of Spider-Man, even though I didn't really know who the character was. It's one of those characters you just see as a kid. It's like, that's cool. So you get a T-shirt when you're 7, you know? And I have
you get a T-shirt.
An abridged, illustrated version, a book version of what happens in Spider-Man 3. So it's like an illustrated book. What's it called when there's a book based on the movie script? I can't remember. A book adaptation of the movie with illustrations. Yeah. So it's like
of the actual movie.
So it's like black goo falls to the ground and it crawls up Peter's leg, and then the next morning he's all strong, and then he fights it's super short because it's a kid's book. It's like he fights the Sandman and the sewers, and then Mary Jane gets mad at him. In the movie, he hits Mary Jane. They bridged that from the book.
Oh yeah, I watched those films like last summer. I forgot they actually fucking slaps her.
Yeah,
yeah.
He domestic abuse, dude.
That's so funny.
And then he goes to the church and it falls.
Not domestic abuse, just the fact that he hit because you said like it's domestic abuse, and I went, that's so funny, but obviously that's not. Yeah,
it's insane that
this is the fact that film went there.
That the character, but it's like super abridged, and it was just like Spider-Man fights Venom.
That film are
and
good.
That's the ending.
Harry dies.
I don't even
and
know.
Mary Jane.
You know, I don't think that
dance. End of story.
That little book even included the Harry storyline. I don't think they even included it.
Did it not? That's a massive part of the film. How do you not like?
Dude, it was so short.
Strange. Okay.
Like the biggest plot beats were a page, and it was like a sentence. But I still remember
that's really weird.
The illustrations very clearly. It's very funny that I have such clear memories, and I think of it so clearly. But no, I recently rewatched Spider-Man 1 and 2, and 2 is so good. So good.
Yeah, I think 2 is still my second favorite, Spider-Man film.
I need to rewatch Spider-Verse because I might like it more, but I've seen it twice, and both times I really like it. I do have stronger feelings than I do towards Spirited Away. I do really like it, but like some people adore it, and I'm just like, yeah, it's really good. And some people are like, it's the best thing ever.
I still think that it is the best encapsulation of the Spider-Man dilemma.
It might be, yeah.
And to me, like, if you nail that, then you're at the top of the
The whole Spider-Man
pack.
dilemma is a discussion for another time because I have strong feelings on that. And then Spider-Man as a character and how they've handled him in the various movie incarnations.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the whole dilemma is very interesting. But and that's what makes the character even remotely
so interesting.
Yeah, remotely interesting in the first place. And it was it was kind of new to comic books when they did that. That's why it was so groundbreaking. Yeah, that's the episode, I think. Do you have anything else to say, Ryan, before I?
No, I just, I understand, your perspective as a first-time viewer. No, it's okay. I get it. I'd be more gutted if you came in like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong.
No.
Right. But for me, I really do think it's beautiful. And like, the word I would use to describe it is, I'm not going to say this right because I can't pronounce stuff correctly, but
what is it?
Was it is elegaic or
what
meaning? Hold on. It's elegiac. I don't know. It's ELEGIAC.
What does it mean?
Elegiac.
What does it mean?
It basically means something that's beautiful, but like in a haunting way that kind of sticks with you. And to me, this is that kind of film. And like, no matter when I watch it, it just genuinely does make me like so happy. And it is one of those films that reminds me why I love film. Yeah. And I'm always a sucker for films that, if they do it correctly, films about life and what life's really about, especially growing up into that, I'm just a sucker for. And to me, knowing that like, this is what that film's really about, and like in a broad sense, but also in it's broad, but also somehow very specific. And I just love that about it. I think there's just something so touching and so beautiful. And I love that quote from Miyazaki, because I think this is a film for everybody, because everybody's been a kid.
Wait, when you mean the quote from Miyazaki, you mean the one where he says, I see my son.
Oh yeah.
He's not an adult yet.
He's not a man yet. It's 40. Yeah. That's my favorite quote. But I do. I think it's a film for everybody, because everybody's been a kid. And the most important lesson I think to take from it is definitely that as we grow older, like, it's important that we don't forget what it's like to be a kid, and what beautiful. Those and that those values are really important. And I don't think any film like touches on that subject as successfully or is as emotionally poignant with that as this film. So I love it.
That is beautiful. That aspect of the film is beautiful. I just don't feel that strongly on it for some reason.
And that's okay.
Yeah. No, it's bad. I'm ashamed. Whip.
It's okay. We all have films we see. I still think One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a fine film, even though people are like, it's one of the greatest films ever made.
I agree with you, by the way. I'm not crazy about Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah. It's aight.
It's aight. It's aight.
Yeah. It's aight.
So next week we are talking about Le Parapluie de Cherbourg, the Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting.
I think you're gonna like it. 60s film. It's technically French New Wave, but it really doesn't feel like it. Actually, I want to double check if it technically is French New Wave. It's from that era, and I've heard people describe it as French New Wave, but it really doesn't feel like it. So I need to brush up on that.
Yeah, because I hate French New Wave.
You haven't really been You've only seen Breathless.
I've seen like 5. No, I've seen.
What have you seen?
I need to look over the last
what have you
2
seen
years,
that wasn't made by Jean-Luc Godard?
That is a fantastic question. Let me see if I can find stuff in my QM history of it. What else did we do? Because we did A Woman is a Woman. Actually, it has been a lot of Godard. Breathless, A Woman is a Woman, Pierrot Le Fou.
All Godard so far.
All not very good. There was one more we watched in first year that I can't remember. I remember we watched 3 French New Wave films, and 2 were Godard, and I can't remember what the other one was. I'll try to find it before we record on that
Um,
episode. But
I'm looking
that is fair. Yeah, a lot of it's Godard. I
Like,
really don't like Godard films. I really don't.
Sorry, I just I was on Godard's IMDb page, and his description. First of all, Godard is partially Swiss, so as a Swiss person, one of our few representatives in the film industry.
The one person
how
you want to
dare
have
you?
actually representative is H.R. Geiger. Like that
Oh
is someone you
no,
should uphold and be like
no, isn't he?
artistry.
He's a weird
He's a
psychopath.
Yeah, he's a weirdo, but like Alien. Alien
Yeah.
is 10 times better than anything
Also,
Godard's ever done.
of my three nationalities, the one I identify with the least is Swiss.
It is definitely yeah.
Not
I was
Swiss.
gonna say
I'm very different to most Swiss people. I'm not representative of the Swiss.
yeah,
But
Swiss are weirdly nationalistic.
Yeah, very so. Sorry if I offend anybody.
Yeah.
You can't say that. I can. I have my passport right here.
Well, I lived in Switzerland, so like
that's true. Well, I lived in Switzerland longer than you and actually got my citizenship.
that's true. I'll give you that.
But Jean-Luc Godard, it describes him as the second of 4 children in a bourgeois Franco-Swiss family. It's strange that it describes him as bourgeois, because that's not very complimentary.
Yeah, it's not.
But you don't associate anything positive with bourgeois.
No, but it makes sense. Let me tell you.
Also,
I've never seen a more pretentious set of films than his.
Don't anger the people out there. I recognize as his films being important in film history, but I don't like Breathless either. And a lot of people I know don't like Breathless. Most film students I know don't like Breathless. It's like the new thing to hate on. Or maybe it's been like that forever. But the director...
My issue with that was mainly just the fact that people uphold it as this classic for the wrong reasons.
The director of the movie we're talking about next week, Umbrellas of Cherbourg, Jacques Demy, I need to investigate properly if he is categorized as French New Wave or not. But I know that his wife is, because he was married to Agnes Varda, who recently died. They were married.
Yeah, she did recently die.
And she is definitely a French New Wave. So that and we should definitely do an Agnes Varda film in the future.
Yeah, I've only seen one of her films.
Yeah. So we should definitely look into that.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
I'm hoping I like it. Your selling point for me was it's one of Damien Chazelle's favorite films, and
it is his favorite film. It's his favorite film.
Right, and it's an inspiration for La La Land.
From the colors to basic elements of the plot. I would say the biggest inspirations for La La Land are Singing in the Rain, Umbrellas of Cherbourg, and An American in Paris. And I would say probably Umbrellas of Cherbourg is the one that takes the inspiration from the most. Definitely.
Okay.
Like you'll definitely see direct parallels to some instances. And just aesthetically with how like everybody lauded how La La Land used colors and stuff. Umbrellas of Cherbourg did that. I'm always mixed on how I should pronounce Agnes Varda, because she's from Belgium. And I say Varda. Agnes, I say like more French, but Varda, I say German. So I don't know how to pronounce her name properly. I just realized that now when I was talking to you.
I pronounce it very American. Agnes Varda.
Agnes Varda. Agnes Varda, dude. Yeah. So next week,
you sound like my friends.
Did they make fun of your accent?
Oh, all the time.
As an American living in a with British boys.
All the time.
Okay. So next week, Umbrellas of Cherbourg, we'll tune into that. It's gonna be fun. Let's see if Ryan has any strong feelings on that. I'm curious.
Yep.
Because I think you might like it.
I am very, very curious.
I definitely think it'll be your favorite out of the French New Wave films, if it is actually French New Wave, because I'm still unsure.
I'm here's the hope in that, because I'm still, I do still have a touch of skepticism.
Yeah. So,
but Damien Chazelle is like one of my 5 favorite filmmakers working at the moment. So
even
I will
he's
give
only
him
made 4 films and you've only seen 3 of them.
Yeah, that's right. I always forget about that
He's got
film
one
in the
movie
park that he did.
before Whiplash. I haven't
Yeah.
seen it either.
Yeah, okay, but Whiplash, La La Land, and First Man. Every time those 3 films have come out, they were my favorite films of that year.
First Man, I literally can't remember anything about it.
I weep. That wasn't 2018 wasn't exactly the strongest year for films anyway. There were like a couple standouts, but like
I feel quite
like
strongly about
Spider-Verse,
that year not being
First
very
Man, A Star Is Born,
good. Black Klansman.
It's kind of about it. Like, yeah, 2018 wasn't.
I literally can't remember what came out.
I put in.
Eighth grade came out. Wait, you cut out.
Yeah,
eighth grade
Infinity
came out.
War was. Right. 8th grade's really good. Infinity War, I give it a thumbs up. And actually, I can't believe we forgot one of our personal favorites, Mission Impossible Fallout. That was definitely one of the highlights that
Fuck
year.
yeah, Mission Impossible Fallout is incredible.
That's such a good film. That is such a good film. We should do one day we'll do an episode on it and just gush over that film.
I just read today that they got exempt from a travel ban ruling, so they're actually going to be able to film it in Europe now.
Cool.
The next one.
Well, hopefully it's still safe and all that on set and whatnot.
Well, I'm sure, but I'm sure they'll manage. But they got exempt from the U.S. travel ban ruling.
Yeah. All right. Well,
also, mid-90s came out in 2018. That's pretty good, except I don't like the ending.
Film. Yeah, you and I agree with that. Mixed feelings on the ending, but the film overall is really good.
Yeah. So that's about it.
I think. Do you anything else before we sign off?
No. Yeah, Umbrellas of Chabot. Enjoy that next week. Stay keen, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. And see you next week and stay keen. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Stay keen.